Hello everyone and welcome to this morning's episode of Trending, brought to you in association with Iconic Coffee. If you head over to shop.iconic.com and use the code TRENDING, you get 10% off. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. It's supposed to be the hottest weekend since records began. I was looking out the window at the drizzle thinking, I think the Met Office just lies. They just make it up as they go along. Here we go. Right, it's another 3 stories from the clown planet. Trump talks of regime change. Do you know what I mean? I'm laughing because it's all so flaming predictable. Trump talks of regime change in Iran and insists US obliterated nuclear sites. Nothing changes but the name on the door. People forget that actually George W. Bush sold himself as the anti-war, pro-American, Make America Great Again, but without that slogan, president all the way back. And now everyone goes, oh yeah, George W. Bush was a war hawk. You forget, mate, he sold himself in the same way that Trump did. And you all fell for it. Donald Trump raised the prospect of regime change in Iran. Did he raise the prospect, did he? Did he come up with it? Of course he did. And defended his claim that its nuclear enrichment sites had been totally obliterated by US strikes over the weekend, insisting it was an accurate term, even as a US damage assessment was still underway. The US president said in a social media post, because that's how he talks to his constituents now, so it's how they all do it, isn't it? It's on social media. Also, he ends his social media post now with, thanks for your attention on this matter. Why has he started doing that all of a sudden? That's become a thing. Mate. Yeah, so they threw these GBU-57 bunker buster bombs and Tomahawk cruise missiles on Saturday night, and they sustained monumental damage. He added, the biggest damage took place far below ground level. Bullseye! Triple exclamation mark. Trump also highlighted the possibility of regime change in Tehran if the country's leaders were unable to make Iran great again. See, he actually put hashtag MIGA at the end of his post as well. So at least he's now saying MIGA, because let's be honest, he is the MIGA president and we all know it. He talked about making Iran great again. I'm pretty sure Iran was pretty great before the 1950s, actually, when the US and the UK did a regime change then. Because Iran was privatizing its oil industry. And we couldn't have that. Couldn't possibly have that. So they needed a little bit of freedom. They needed a little bit of Western freedom. Because that's what we do. We create enemies. And that's how we do it. So you go, okay, they're doing something that I don't like. That's not good for us, the West, in terms of business or in terms of what we actually want to achieve in the area further down the line, whether it be the Greater Israel Project or whatever. So what we need to do, we need to overthrow that. So we kind of manufacture a few things. So weapons of mass destruction, Assad's gassing his own people, whatever we create something, and then we overthrow it. We overthrow it by destabilizing the government, by funding protests against that regime, and then going in and going, oh, look, they're attacking their own people. We need to give them some freedom. And then what we do is we install a puppet. And that puppet goes in there to be saved for later. So we go, okay, yeah, there's a puppet in place now. And then we walk away and we carry on with our lives for a bit. Keep an eye on it, and wait till that puppet does something. And then you go, oh no, it's bad, innit? We better go back in. And you wait, trust me, they'll do exactly the same in Syria. So they've overthrown Assad. They've stuck in Mr. Al-Qaeda. I thought Al-Qaeda was a bad guy. Oh, yeah, do keep up. So we've got Mr. Al-Qaeda in there now. And he's great for business at the minute because he's allowing Israel to use his airspace and stuff to go and strike Iran and all that stuff. So he's good. But also what he is, because he's Al-Qaeda, Mr. Terrorist, he's the excuse in the future to go back in there. You go, oh, yeah, you do realise Syria is run by a terrorist organisation. Yeah, you put them there, son. You put them there on purpose so you can take them out later. Honestly, it's embarrassing. Talking of embarrassing, though, the peace president, do you remember that? This was the peace ticket. This is the anti-war ticket. This is the Make America Great Again. I mean, there's a few people doubling down. You're going to have that. You've got those that have got money in the game, those that the algorithm on social media supports massively because they're pro-Trump and makes them a lot of money. Get big paychecks. Your Tim Pools of this world get big old paychecks. So they're in a position where they can't really flip on it because livelihood depends on it. But most people with a brain and eyes and ears are actually going, do you know what? I was done. I was duped. Yeah, you were, yeah. And I'm not going to sit here and say I told you so, but I did. But I'm not going to sit here and say I told you so because that's actually not really helpful. It's like, okay, right, if you're willing to admit you were duped by the Orange Goblin, fine. So where do we go now? Because I'm bored of your 5D chess and I'm bored of your trust the plan. Can't be done with that anymore. So what are we going to do about it then? We need to hold him to account. We need to hold the US government to account in the same way you would have held them to account had Harris won. Now, I was talking about last week on the Gareth Tonight Show. I was making the point that Iran isn't Iraq. It's not Afghanistan. It's not Libya. It's not Syria. It's a different prospect, right? Now, not just militarily, but economically, because they have the ability to close the Hormuz Strait, which is what the Strait of Hormuz, which is what they're supposedly doing now, which will stop 20% of the world's oil passing through, which means oil prices are going to go George W. bonkers, as if they're not already, which is going to affect everything. And it doesn't just affect people at the petrol station or at the gas station. It affects everything because everything relies on energy. So people will go, oh, it's okay, it's fine. I've got an electric car anyway. Yeah, but you eat food, and that food is sent around and from farm to, if they haven't shut it down, from farm to manufacturing departments into stores and whatever else, on the back of lorries, which needs fuel. So what these big companies do is then they get hit with the fuel prices, but they pass them on to you, the consumer. So the food becomes more expensive. Everything becomes more expensive. These are the things that the war hawks never mention when they talk about, oh, no, it's okay. We just need to go in and just a few little bombs, just a little bomb in. It'll be fine. We'll take out the nuclear facilities and then everything will be fine. And we'll all go back to watching the telly and everything will be fine. No. And they knew that this was going to happen because they'd already been in touch with China. Hello, is that China? China. To say, please, can you stop Iran from doing it? Well, why would China do that? It's not in their interest to do it, is it? Why would you bother? Oh, look, the West is basically committing economic suicide. Oh, wow. Never mind. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing, actually. And in terms of alternative, because obviously people thought Trump was alternative, have you seen all the Reform Party? That's the UK's alternative, Make England Great Again. They're all on board with war. Of course they are. It's hilarious looking at all the people suddenly come out of the woodwork. All these people that sort of made a bit of a name during COVID and after COVID and were elevated and built up in terms of algorithmic support, suddenly all now becoming war hawks. And we're hearing, but Iran could unleash sleeper cells. These are the sleeper cells. They're being unleashed on social media to try and change your perception and suddenly make you think that war's a good thing. So you've got all these so-called awake people going, yeah, no, I know, mate. Yeah, the establishment lies about everything, doesn't it? I know. Oh, 9/11. Woof. Inside job on it, son. Yeah, I know, yeah. And weapons of mass destruction. What a load of nonsense that was. The Kennedy assassination. Yeah, they lied about that, or they lied about Epstein, didn't they? Well, of course they did, because they were all in bed with people underage. That's why they lied. Yeah, they lied about COVID as well, and human-caused climate change. They're lying about that. But do you know what I think? I think Iran should not be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, and we should do whatever it takes to stop it happening. Okay. So they lied about everything but this. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they lied about everything but this. And when you were talking about that, because like I say, I've got no skin in the game for the Iranian regime. I've got no skin in the game for any regime, because they're all arseholes. All of them. But Israel's got nuclear weapons. It's got a bunch of nuclear weapons. That was a conspiracy theory for years, by the way. We weren't allowed to talk about it. You're an anti-Semite. They've got they don't have nukes. Oh, now, yeah, they have got nukes. Completely clandestine. They don't allow inspectors in there because it's the ender-level boss, isn't it? It's Dr. Robotnik from Sonic the Hedgehog. They can do what they want. And where did they get the uranium and all that sort? Oh, they nicked it. Literally nicked it. From America, a lot of it. What did America do about it? Nothing. Wouldn't dare. There's also only one country that's ever used a nuke, by the way. So why are they allowed nuclear weapons? Now, do you know what I mean? I can go down a rabbit hole. That's even if nuclear weapons exist. But on the what we're presented as fact, I don't think anyone should have nuclear weapons. The idea of having a weapon that can destroy the world is just mental. Why would anybody have that? But Pakistan's allowed it. Israel's allowed it. America, that we're told has used it twice, they're allowed it. But Iran's not allowed to have nuclear energy because apparently they're the reason why the whole world is destabilised. Not had a war for 300 years. Oh, no, that's not true. They had one, didn't they? Yeah, they went to war. Oh, no, they got invaded. That's the only war Iran's had. They got invaded by Iraq. Yeah, we're supposed to fear them. Tell me, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world, how many Iranians are causing issues for you? Generally. How many Iranian grooming gangs are there? How many Iranians are there in your neighbourhood kicking off, causing trouble, torching stuff, robbing grannies? Yeah, none. But you're supposed to fear them. Honestly. Everything's upside down, mate. And I'll be honest with you, I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of people sat on social media with their big followers, like I say, algorithmically elevated, saying things as if it's a video game, as if it's playing Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty or something. Yeah, we just need to do this, we just need to do that. I've seen people saying it, elevated accounts, big accounts with millions of followers as well. It's not war, it's just an airstrike. What does that even mean? Like, generally, what does that even mean? So if dropping bombs and blowing stuff up isn't an act of war, what is war then? Like, Jeremy, please explain it to me. What does it mean? It's madness, mate. And it's going to come back on every single one of us. And this is what bugs me. It really bugs me. Because, like I say, people are talking about it like it's a video game, like it's not real life, like it's not going to come back on them. But when they're paying $20 a gallon at the petrol station in 6 months, they'll be going mental. How was this allowed to happen? Yeah, you cheered it on, dickhead. And it's not these politicians that are going to be getting blown up and sent to die on the battlefield. Netanyahu, who started it, showed that immediately. As soon as the airstrikes started on Iran, he was off to Greece. He was sat around the pool with a pina colada while he was banning Israeli citizens, regular Joes like you and me, from leaving the country as missiles were raining down on them. That's leadership, isn't it? It's almost like he doesn't care about his own people. Oh, how dare you say that? Talking about not caring of your own people, UK, some more predictable stuff as well. UK Parliament votes for assisted dying, paving the way for historical law change. Of course they did. They were always going to. Said it multiple times. We're the carbon they seek to reduce. Britain's Parliament voted on Friday in favour of a bill to legalise assisted dying, paving the way for the country's biggest social change in a generation. The legislation passed by a vote of 314 to 291, clearing its biggest parliamentary hurdle. The terminally ill adults end-of-life law would give mentally competent, this is just the start by the way, mentally competent terminally ill adults in England and Wales with 6 months or less to live the right to choose to end their lives with medical help. Now, I saw some of this debate and I was reading a lot about it over the weekend, and all they kept saying was, it was a very emotional debate. Yeah, of course. That's what they use. They use emotion intentionally. They did it, well, they're doing it with Iran, but they did it throughout COVID, that using emotion all the time to try and get you to go, okay, I in my core, I don't really feel like this is right. I feel like it could be exploited. I feel like it's a step on a ladder to something sinister and dark, but you've used emotion. And look, I saw a tear, so I'll go for it. That's why they do it. Now, spoke about this on the show for a long time, about the assisted dying bill. I get the idea that if you are dying and you're in agony and you've got a period of time left to live and life is miserable, maybe you're starting to lose your mental faculties, you're losing your physical ability to do whatever. Maybe your body's deteriorating at such a point that you are literally just wasting away. I get it. I'm not going to sit here and go, do you know what, you should just sit there in pain and shut your mouth. I'm not saying that. My issue with this is not where it's meant to go. Now, people can hear me say that at home and go, oh, who are you then? Mystic Meg then? Yeah. How do you know where it's meant to go? Well, you don't need to be a conspiracy theorist with this, because it's really easy, because it's already passed in Canada, it's already passed in Switzerland, it's already passed in the Netherlands, and we've seen where it's gone. So in Canada, the MAID bill, the MAID law, that was sold exactly the same. If you're terminally ill, then we can put you out of your misery, fine. That's where it started, and that's how they got the jackboot in the door, with the same emotional language. And then it went, but if you're not terminally ill, but you're in a lot of pain, then okay, you can. Right, done. And then it became, well, maybe you're not physically unwell, but mentally you're unwell, so you can. And then it went, maybe if you feel like you're a burden to those around, you can. Same in the Netherlands. And then we got to the point where in Holland and in Canada, there's several cases now of young people, kids essentially, being, let's have it right, put down because they had mental health problems. Well, tell me who doesn't in a world like this. In fact, if you don't have mental health issues with the world we're living in, that in itself is a mental health issue for me. The place is mad. The place is bonkers. Everything is designed to drive you crazy. If you can look at your timeline on social media, or you can look out your window depending where you live, or you can look on the news and see what's happening to people, kids being blown up in Gaza, and be fine with it, don't worry about it, it's not affecting me mentally, it's not a problem, then, geez Louise. Is that Jeffrey Dahmer? Yeah, we've found another one just like you. But that's how they do it. And that's what they've done in Holland, like I say, and that's what it will be here. This is passed now, so this will come in. They'll allow a bit of time. They'll allow a little bit of time to pass. They'll give us some stories of people who are on their last legs going, thank you so much for allowing me to be free, all that sort of stuff. They'll have emotional videos of daughters and sons of people going, thank you so much for letting my mum pass in peace. All that stuff. We'll get all that propaganda. Just you wait for it. And then then it will go to the next one and the next one and the next one. And then suddenly 5, 6, 10 years down the line, you go, are we putting down healthy people? How did that happen? We allowed it. And now I had an interview with a chap in Canada. I've said this a bunch of times, so forgive me for repeating myself, but I think it bears repeating. Because I like anecdotal evidence. You know, you can see stuff on the news, and it's like, yeah, but what's real and what's not? Because now the alternative media is just full of shite as well. So it's like, ooh. So I interviewed a chap in Canada who had a brain tumor, benign brain tumor, not life-threatening. He's a father of 3 young kids who went into hospital and was offered by the receptionist 3 times end of life. Have you ever thought about, I know you've got young kids and you're not actually dying, but these medical bills are, I'm sure you can afford that, son. Have you ever thought about just dying? 3 times he was offered that, and he came on the show and I spoke to him, lovely bloke. And you're like, no, I hadn't thought about dying actually. I thought about living for my children. Is that all right? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if people living actually fits in with the plan. Bearing in mind, in the UK, which seems to be ground zero for mental nowadays, they've passed that assisted dying bill in the days after they legalised killing babies up until birth. And we're not run by ghouls. Okay, so back in the UK again, for more mental, NHS plans to DNA test all babies to assess disease risk. I'm sure that's why they're doing it. Every newborn baby in England will have their DNA mapped to assess their risk of hundreds of diseases under NHS plans for the next 10 years. All right, George Orwell, you okay? Yeah, he's laughing. The scheme, first reported by the Daily Telegraph External, is part of a government drive towards predicting and preventing illness, which will also see 550 million invested in DNA research for all patients by what year? Go on, say a year. 2030. You're right. How did you know? Health Secretary Wes Streeting said gene technology would enable the health service to leapfrog diseases, so we're in front of it rather than reacting to it. It comes after a study, I love a study, analysing the genetic code of up to 100,000 babies was announced on in October. They're rolling on with the eugenics, aren't they? They're not even bothered anymore. Like, they're not even hiding it anymore. It's just like, yeah, we're doing it, mate. What are you going to do about it? And like I say, it's in the same week that they've legalised killing babies and they've legalised killing anyone. So you got killing babies up to the point of birth. So that's pretty good for organ harvesting, isn't it? And now you're data harvesting as well. Mate, it's all about, well, it's about lots of different things, but a certain element of it, which I think overrides everything, is about control. I spoke about COVID. It's not about health, it's about control. All of these things are. Even if you look at the escalation in Iran, what will come out of that, look after 9/11, the Patriot Act, what comes out of it is more control. So they take money out your pocket and they take freedoms out the other pocket. That's what happens at the end of everything. Climate change. The end result is the same with all of it. So we go, okay, most of us, I think, certainly in this realm, know what they want. So they want a full digital ID, digital China-style social credit system, surveillance everywhere, facial recognition. All these things are coming in, right? And you go, right, well, how can I get around the cameras? Well, could wear a mask, I suppose. Could wear a mask and a hoodie. And then they've only got my eyes. Well, they can read your eyes now because you've got, obviously, all the technology that reads your iris and all that stuff. Oh, sugar. Can I wear sunglasses? I'm not sure that works either. Well, what can I do then? Well, you could wear a burqa. Burqa and sunglasses. There you go, with a baseball cap on top like that, and just keep your head down. So how will we get around facial recognition? Well, there's lots of different ways people try and get around facial recognition. So they're going to need to do something else, aren't they? To know where you are at all times, where you're going, who you're going there with. Imagine if they could read one's genetic sequence. So each individual person has obviously a unique genetic makeup. So imagine if you could read that, if you had the ability to read someone's genetic makeup, it wouldn't matter if they covered their face, covered their eyes, and everything else, wore gloves. You would still be able to know who was where and when and how they got there at all times. And then you say, well, yeah, but how would they get every single person's genetic makeup? I mean, I understand, yeah, they can, if you've been a criminal previously, obviously they'll have your DNA in their database and stuff like that. Yeah, that I understand, but most of us have never been swabbed by, oh, you did? oh, you did? You spent 3 years getting swabbed, mate. But not all of us did. I never did once. Okay, so how are they going to get me? Well, I imagine I'm probably past the point of no return. They'll be doing me on the assisted dying. That's how they'll get to me. Whereas newborns coming into the world, well, if you're not killing them, then you can just get their genetic code, can't you? Because they're going to do that for every single child. And if they're doing it in England, they'll be doing it everywhere else, because that's how it happens. Because governments all over the world all have the same idea at the same time. It's uncanny. So then you will have an enormous database of your... Eventually, after a period of time, you'll have an enormous database of your entire population. So then you'll be able to read the genetic sequence of every single person, which will mean you better know where they are at all times, what they're doing, where they're going, who they're going there with. And you'll also be able to target specific parts of your population if you wanted to. So you go, do you know what? I think we should take out that portion of the useless eaters. Well, how can we do that? Well, we can develop some kind of illness that is basically labeled to their signature, to their DNA sequence. Well, how do you know the DNA sequence? Already got it, mate. Got it the minute they popped into this mad world. People will think that's tinfoil hat. Maybe it is. Maybe it is tinfoil hat. But I wouldn't put it past them. Would you? Given what they're capable of? Given what the overall goal is, which is ultimate control of the population? I wouldn't put it past them at all. In fact, I'd be shocked if it wasn't that. I'd be more shocked if the establishment was DNA testing everyone so that they could help cure disease and make people healthy. That would be a conspiracy theory, that would. Anyway, I'll be back later on, so let's see what happens in the rest of today. What madness will unfold in the next few hours before I come back this afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. As always, Trending was brought to you in association with Iconic Coffee. If you head over to shop.iconic.com, use the code TRENDING, you get 10% off. See you later.